Minecraft is known for its many useful blocks in the game. You know, you have the crafting table for helping you craft, you've got tools for helping you mine, you've got furnaces for helping you smelt ores. It's a thing. Minecraft basically has all of these useful tools, but does that also mean that it's free of uselessness? I don't know. Let's see. This is 10 useless blocks in Minecraft. We've pulled together 10 of the most useless blocks in the game and maybe tried to help see if we can't come up with a use for each of them. Drop a like down below on this video and let's get started. Also, subscribe if you're at all new so that way you never miss a video from me. My name is Luke the Animator and this is 10 useless blocks. So, starting off, we're going to start all the way back here. This is andesite, diorite, and granite. These three don't currently have a use in the game aside from having polished variants. I feel like these three should have rock item forms. You know, whenever mining these things, they are dropped as items, and you can use those items to create another stone variant of tools. Like pickaxes or swords. I just feel like it would give stone tools a little bit more variation, give it some more personality, and give these blocks some use. These things are kind of useless. As well, have it so that way gravel maybe can drop the rock formation forms of these as well as the flint that it drops normally. Gravel doesn't really have much of a use aside from the random bits of flint, so maybe having rocks coming out of it, especially if these three have uses. I just destroyed all three of them. Basically, if gravel was able to drop the three of these, and these three actually have a use, I feel like gravel then would also be, twice as useful. Up next is wet sponge. Now I have a really fun scenario for this one. This one was really fun for me to come up with. Basically, let me spawn some sheep in. And let's say, oh, you're already brown, so you're making my life way easier. Let's say that, hardly any of them are the same color. And even if they are, there's only like a very limited amount. So whenever you kill them, you would pick up their wool. Let me see if I can get all of them. Yep. If you kill them, you'd get their wool, but oh no, it's nighttime. Nighttime is slowly falling. You're not getting the same color wool. It's all just really random. You don't necessarily have all of the colors you need in order to make a bed. I feel like wet sponge could be useful. First of all, let's give Sponge a crafting recipe and have it so that way white wool. Where's that other? There's a brown sheep right here. I feel like having a crafting recipe for sponge could be really useful. One white wool would equal one sponge, and then you could take that sponge over to water and make it a wet sponge. Then use the wet sponge in a crafting table so that way you could undye these colored wool. I feel like it would change the game forever, allowing it so that way we don't have those, those bad scenarios where it's almost nighttime, it's the third night, we got phantoms chasing us and trying to nibble at us, nibble our toes. We don't want phantoms nibbling our toes, or at least I don't. If you want phantoms nibbling your toes, you got something wrong with you. I feel like it would remove the scenario, where you would have to use, it would remove the scenario where you don't have enough wool to make a bed, so you have to go another sleepless night. I feel like if wet sponge could remove dye from wool or even banners, it would give the wet sponge a little bit more of a use in the game. Up next is brain coral. Now, this one took me a minute to try to think about, especially considering we've already got soul sand and magma blocks that do this, but what if we had a third block in the game that allowed us to have an air column, free breathing? I feel like in the warm oceans, this would be a really nice thing to have, something that's like a third way to get air columns without, pulling us down to the surface or pushing us up to the surface of the water. I just feel like having a third option for breathing underwater would be kind of clever. Not only that, but brain coral, hey, you expect bubbles to come out of this. Reference to Subnautica. Up next is the Netherwart block. Now, you can actually craft these using 9 bits of Netherwart in the game, but you can't decraft them like you could a block of coal or a block of diamond or a block of iron, those types of things. You can't decraft this, and I don't know why, but it's what's the use? What's the use? Who would want to merge Netherwart for a block that doesn't really have a use aside from, like, looking like this, looking all warty and stuff? I think what would be really interesting is if it had a function for being as compact as it is. We put it in the brewing stand and maybe make a super awkward potion rather than a regular awkward potion with, small bits of Netherwart. What would the super awkward potion do? Well, I think that it should combine the ability to use glowstone and redstone at the same time whenever brewing potions. Give us a balance for duration and strength in potions. Nothing too overpowered, but something that gives us a little bit more than what we get now. Up next is a fun one. We got Podzol. Now this one is kind of an idea based on its texture. This block isn't really used for anything aside from like terraining and making it look good. Some people use it as mud in their pins. I think that this block, as far as it not having a function goes, should maybe include something fun considering its texture. It looks like, wood chips. It looks like it's got pine needles, acorns, you name it. What if, whenever we picked this block up, it also had the chance to drop sweet berries or sticks or even seeds, and however many numbers it wanted? I just think that it would give this block a little bit more personality, make it a little bit more fun to collect. Not necessarily so that way it's useful, but also so that way, it's not just a block sitting there for decoration in our creative block list. Up next is Coarse Dirt and Grass Path. Now, these two are really fun to think about. The Grass Path is only used currently in villages, but what if they had another function aside from us using shovels? What if over time, as we're walking in our Minecraft worlds, this stuff naturally occurs behind us, making a path generate behind us? I just feel like it would add, simulation to footprints. Over time, whenever you're walking in an area, it would become coarse, and that's where the coarse dirt comes in as a joke and as an actual thing, because the idea would be that, land is starting to become dead. There's not really much life going on, but you are creating a way for you to remember where you last were. And maybe if you didn't want it to be OP, maybe over time you could have it so that way grass can grow over it. That would kind of ruin the idea about village paths, but I don't know. Let me know what you think about this one. This one's kind of an interesting one to think about. Last but not least, we've got the good old bookshelf. Now, what is a bookshelf used for? Well, in its current stage, it's only ever really been used for enchantment levels. If we have 15, we're able to get 30 enchantment levels in an enchantment table. But what if we took it a step further and had it more organization, a new place for us to put paper and books, enchanted books, or even just book and quill? It would be really interesting to have it so that way we can store the stuff inside our bookshelves. It would make more sense to store stuff in there. And I don't think that this implementation would be too out of place, considering the Village and Pillage update is including new blocks like, the fletching table, the barrel, and actually that's what we're using today, is a retextured barrel for a bookcase. I think that this would be a really, really awesome idea for the future, but you let me know what you think about this, because, just compare this. This is organization as we know it now, and this is what future of organization could be. Anyways, that about does it for me. Let me know which of these, you thought was the most useful, and which block you think is the most useless in the game. Before you leave, be sure to beat that like button till it's black and blue, subscribe if you're idle new, and ding that bell, or you're a dingus. My name is Luke the Animator, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now. Bye-bye.
Go!